What's up guys, welcome back to another video. My name is TC and today I'm going to give you guys a book review of Feeling Good by David D. Burns, MD. Now before we get started, I just want to say thank you for clicking on this video, for taking the time out of your day to listen to what I have to say. I really appreciate it, and I really hope that whatever I have to say today or any techniques I introduce to you can really help you cope and heal with your depression, because that is what today's video is about. As you know, I'm a huge mental health advocate. I once dealt with mental health issues of my own, so I really hope that the tools and techniques that I introduced to you today can help you out. Alright, so let's get started. In the first chapter, he introduces a term called bibliotherapy. Now, I don't know if any of you are currently going to therapy or not. I highly recommend it if you are dealing with depression, whether it's severe or mild, or it's your first time being introduced to depression, first time you're experiencing it. Therapy is a great tool and technique to help you cope and heal with it. It speeds the process along, and you can really have someone to help you out. Alright, so the term bibliotherapy basically means the use of books in form of therapy for mental and physiological disorders. In this book, he suggests that we read a self-help book in between therapy sessions. Now, again, if you can't afford therapy or if you're not currently going to therapy, I highly suggest and recommend that you do. To open yourself up, to become, again, more open is really a key to healing. But if you can't afford it, or if you're not currently going and your appointment, say, is next week, it's great to pick up not only this book, Feeling Good, but also any other self-help book, which I will recommend in the description below. Not only will it help you speed the process of your healing, but it's going to help you develop a new mindset. It's going to give you tools and techniques that you can use every single day to help you heal, to help you understand, and to really get to the bottom of what you're going through and why you're going through it. So right off the bat, he introduces you to a lot of great therapy techniques such as bibliotherapy, and I highly recommend that you guys use this. It'll not only heighten your vocabulary, but it will better your understanding of depression, what depression is, and why you're going through it. Now in the next few sections, he introduces something called the BDC scale, which basically means the Burns Depression Checklist. Obviously by the name of it, this is a checklist or a scale to evaluate where you're at in your healing process with depression. There's 25 questions, and it gives you the option to answer them with a 0 through 4 method, 0 being non-existent, 1 being somewhat, 2 being moderately, 3 being a lot, and 4 being extreme. Now at the end of these 25 questions, he gives you a scale to evaluate where you're at in the healing process, 0 through 5 being no depression, 5 through 10 being fine but unhappy, and then it goes through moderate, mild, moderate, severe depression, right? So it gives you a great analysis or overview of where you're at in your healing process, and you're supposed to use this checklist 1 or 2 times a week to evaluate where you're at and how your healing process is going. Now if you do pick up this book, I highly recommend that you use this scale and you implement these techniques into your life, because they are great tools to help you deal, understand, cope, and heal with your depression, because that is ultimately the goal. Now as you further yourself along in this book, you're going to find a section that deals with cognitive distortions. Now keep in mind that this book deals mainly with cognitive therapy. So if you're going to a therapist that is specializing in cognitive behavioral therapy, this basically means that they help you change your thinking patterns, right? You're obviously having some sort of cognitive distortion. Now again, cognitive basically means thoughts. So your thinking patterns are irrational. They're going to help you understand what you're saying to yourself that isn't necessarily right, and how to implement better self-talk. Now in this section, he introduces 10 different cognitive distortions. I'm going to go ahead and read it off from this book right here. All or nothing thinking, overgeneralization, mental filter, disqualifying the positive, jumping to conclusions, magnification, emotional reasoning, should statements, labeling and mislabeling, and personalization. Now without getting too much into it, because I don't want this video to run off into like 50 minutes, because it is a big book, just by hearing those words, I'm sure a lot of you dealing with depression can understand what those mean in a basic sense. Now the thing that I love about this book is that he really dives deep into what a cognitive distortion is and how those affect us and how they ultimately lead to depression. Now without getting too much into depth about those cognitive distortions, because we can be here all day and I don't want this video to run on for 50 minutes, we're going to jump on to the next section, or a technique that you can use to help you cope and heal with your depression. This technique is called the double column method, and I'll probably introduce this into its own video sometime in the future. The basis of this technique is really simple. All you really need is a piece of paper, a pen, or a pencil, right? I'm going to give you a quick breakdown. So at maybe the top section of your paper, you kind of just want to draw a T, right? On the left-hand side, you're going to do cognitive distortions, and on the other side, you're going to write realistic self-talk. So basically, on the left side, this is your self-criticism, the things that you say to yourself that you really believe right now and that are ultimately leading to your depression, and then you're basically going to defend yourself on the right-hand side. For example, on the left-hand side, say you write, "I never do anything right." And on the right-hand side, you're going to defend yourself. You're going to say, well, that's not necessarily true. I may not do some things right, but that doesn't mean I don't do anything right. Another example would be, say on the left-hand side, you write, "My boss yelled at me, I suck at my job." On the right-hand side, you're going to defend yourself and rationalize your thinking, right? You're going to say something like, maybe my boss had a bad day. Just because I messed up on this certain assignment doesn't mean I'm terrible at my job. Something like that, right? You have to defend yourself and recognize that your self-criticism is ultimately leading to your depression. So to use these techniques, like the double column method, to understand your self-criticism, become aware of it, and then defend yourself is a great way to help you build your self-esteem and your self-love. So now that we're dealing with the anti-procrastination sheet, this method is basically, like in the title, supposed to help us not procrastinate. Again, you're only going to need a pen, a pencil, and a piece of paper. For the basis of it, to simplify it, you're going to have to write in the beginning an activity that you're planning to do throughout the day, and you're going to have to write your anticipation of your satisfaction level, right? So say I'm going to go to the gym. I'm only going to find that about 40% satisfactory, right? And then say after you go to the gym, you actually really enjoyed that activity more than you initially thought you would. You put 80%, I enjoyed it. And the point of this technique is to basically review your actions throughout the day, understand where your mind was before you did that certain activity, and then where your mind was after. So it's supposed to help you realize your distorted thinking from beginning to end. So this book is filled with plenty of techniques, plenty of tools. I'm only going to dive into about one more of them because, like I said, this book is about 700 pages long. We could be doing this all day long, and I will probably make other videos dealing with the specific tools and techniques to kind of just break it down and simplify it for you guys. So this next technique that I'm introduced to you is called the Dysfunctional Attitude Sheet, DAS for short. Now this is kind of similar to the first tool that I introduced to you guys in the beginning of the video, which was the scale that I highly recommend you guys use on a weekly basis to evaluate your healing process. But this tool or technique is basically 35 questions to help you assess where you're at with your entitlement, your self-love, your attitude towards life, and other factors like that. So it's going to help you assess and become more self-aware of where you're currently at, where you're heading, and how to cope and heal with those dysfunctional parts of your life. He also introduces a lot of other great tools for your personal growth and development. A lot of simple activities, just like getting out of bed, because like I said before, I've been there. There's been days where I just want to sleep all day. I feel like the world isn't really going to benefit from my being. I've been there. I've been in your shoes. It gets better. Trust me, just get out of bed, do one thing at a time, take it slowly, and I promise you it'll help you build up that motivation and momentum that you so desperately want. To continue with the book review, because so far I've really just given you guys a lot of tools, but that's basically what he talks about. And I think that's the important stuff, the meat in the book that I really want to give to you guys. Because again, it's 700 pages. Not every single word is going to be super beneficial or practical that you guys can implement into your daily life. But I want to give you guys the good stuff. So when you hit about the third section of the book, right, when we're coming to an end, he talks a lot about antidepressants. Now me personally, I never had to go on antidepressants. I'm definitely not knocking them at all. If you read this book, he actually encourages you to use it if you are severely depressed or even mildly depressed. I think it could definitely be a big beneficial factor in your healing process. But me personally, I never really had to use it, and I always coped with it, through bibliotherapy or through other coping methods, right? So essentially, he just talks about or lists a lot of the current antidepressants, the old antidepressants, how they deal with our neurochemical system, and a lot of things like that. It kind of gets a little technical, but it's really cool to understand and to read about, right? You kind of feel like you're an expert in neuroscience. So I'm not going to get too much in this section because, again, I never dealt with antidepressants. I'm not going to act like I'm an expert because I'm not. If you guys pick up the book, I highly recommend that you read that section if you are considering or if you are currently taking antidepressants, because it can give you a great rundown of how they affect your brain, where they came from, why doctors, psychiatrists, therapists think that they can be helpful, why they can't be helpful. It just gives you a lot of great reasoning, right? But again, towards the end of the book, he gives you a whole rundown. It's like 100 pages of a list of antidepressants, which ones you should take for which reasons, which ones you should not combine, and I think that is a big part of it, which is why I want to, kind of introduce it just a little bit. If you are currently taking antidepressants and you're not really an expert, I'm not going to say you're an expert about it, but if you don't really understand, how they're helping you or what they're doing for you, your doctor just kind of told you to take them, I highly recommend you pick up this book, at least just for the last 2 chapters, because he goes into depth and into detail about how they affect your mood, how they affect your chemical balances in your brain, and it's just a great rundown, and you can better your understanding of why you're taking them and how they're going to affect you. So that is it for today's book review, guys. I really hope that anything I introduced to you or anything I said can help you heal, cope with your depression. I know I said that a lot throughout the video, but I just want to let you know that this is possible. If it happened for me, if it's happened for others, it can happen to you especially. There is no secret. It just takes work, it takes time, but you have to be open to ask for help. You have to be open to heal, and at the end of the day, it's ultimately going to be up to you to use these tools, these techniques to get better and to heal. So again, I hope something I said, something I introduced you guys, you can use and utilize. If you're going to therapy, if you're not going to therapy, highly recommend it. Highly recommend this book. Thank you guys for watching. I will catch you in the next video. Peace.